It's time now for Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild. Stay up to date with your team all season long with Call of the Wild. With head coach and GM Bliss Littler, here's the voice of your Wenatchee Wild, Arch Ecker.
Hello and welcome to Call of the Wild, your weekly Wenatchee Wild coaches show. I'm Arch Ecker alongside Wenatchee Wild head coach and general manager Bliss Littler. This week we'll be talking a little bit about last weekend's series with the Chilliwack Chiefs, and we'll be looking forward to this weekend's trip to Surrey on Thursday and then a big home game on Saturday night against Victoria for Guns and Hoses night. So we got a full show for you here today, and we'll start off with last week. It started off with a Wednesday trip to Chilliwack, and that was the first game back after the holiday break for both teams. And we expected things were going to be a little sloppy, possibly. Kind of played out that way, and it ended up being maybe a couple of weird bounces in the game sort of shifted the pace.
Well, it probably, if you had asked both myself and Jason and Chilliwack, probably would have said that we thought Wednesday would be real sloppy, and at times it was, but for the most part, it was very good hockey. That both teams got up and down the ice, and we traded leads for most of the game, and there were a few bounces at the end where they get the power play, and they make a play at the end where they get us and end up with an empty netter at the very end. But for the most part, for a first game back, is pretty well played by both teams.
A lot of times they'll say that it's hard work that creates those bounces. They don't just fall out of the sky. And I think you had to feel pretty happy with the way your team came out and battled and attacked. And they got a couple of bounces, both teams did, but it was definitely a result of hard work.
I would agree. I think both teams competed pretty hard, and again, for coming off of a 10-day break, whatever it was, I was pretty happy with the direction that we were going. That we go into a very tough building to play, and definitely had a chance to win that game. That we played well enough to win, and they made a couple more plays than we did at the end, and it's unfortunate, but you have two good teams play. Somebody's going to win, someone's going to lose.
Charlie Combs had a huge goal early in that game, one of his trademark bombs. What was interesting from Chilliwack is they've got a couple of highlight reel guys that tend to put the puck in the net consistently. Their offense that night seemed to largely come off the blue line.
It was one of those nights that I thought we did a good job holding Kawaguchi in check, and they're a deep team just like we are. They roll four lines, and it just happened their D got into the play on a couple situations, and then on the game winner on the power play goal that is a nice one-timer that set up and made our goalie move from side to side and snuck that one past him.
So then the tide shifts and you head back into Wenatchee and you get a chance to play the same team 48 hours later. And both teams noticeably a little bit sharper, as expected, on the Friday game. And it ended up going into overtime. It was the first time you've had an overtime game here at home this season. Again, not the result you wanted, but at the same time, plenty of positives to be pulled out of that game as well.
Well, we felt that you play at that level that you're going to win most nights. And I thought their goaltender played very well. I thought both teams played very well, but definitely we felt we had the better of the chances, and we've had a lot of nights where the pucks bounced our way. We're a pretty even game, and we got the bounces, and it goes our way. Where we get into that overtime, and we have a wide open net, and we make a pass instead of shoot the puck at the open net, and we don't convert. They come down to our end and fire one from the blue line at the little wrister, and goalie doesn't see it, and it finds the back of the net. And that's hockey. That you got to take advantage of your opportunities. And again, that was 67, 68 minutes into the contest, so you can't look at one situation. But we had many good chances. They had good chances. I thought it was a very good, very well played hockey game. That again, it's too bad that we came up on the short end, because we definitely played well enough to win that one.
Sometimes you ask your players, you ask your best players to be your best players. Sometimes you don't have to ask. Sometimes veteran players just sense it. And Brendan Harris was the guy that stepped up that game and kind of got things started. He fell behind, but then Harris comes back and pumps in a couple of goals on his own, with help, of course. But Brendan Harris certainly stepping up big in that game.
Boy, the second goal was real pretty. Second goal was, there's a lot of work, a lot of skill. But Brendan, we only played 3 centers that night, and we have a few kids that can play center that are playing on the wing. But the plan was to give them a real healthy dose of Brendan Harris, and we've really tried to limit doing that too much during the year. That we've tried to give other guys that kind of ice. Just we want him to be fresh in March and April, and if we're playing him 25, 27 minutes a night. With his body type and size, that he's going to wear down. So I think we've done a pretty good job of not asking him to eat up too many of those nights where we want him to play a whole bunch. Because you think about it, he's the first guy over the boards in the power play, goes out to kill he's the first guy in the penalty kill. So he gets the special teams minutes, and we really try not to use him every other shift as that extra forward if we can help it. But Friday night, we told him that, hey, you're going to take the minutes tonight, and again, we know that come playoff time that he's going to see those minutes, and again, I was real happy with how he performed.
Some of the things that he does in the course of a night, imagine maybe as a coach you want to take credit for some of it, but some of that, where does it come from? It's jaw-dropping.
Well, most of that is just he's a real creative kid. Works hard. Deserves to create some luck. The compete part, I think we've really pushed him on that I know that his compete level is much higher today than it was when he got here 4 years ago. But the creativeness, he's had that. That's just from many hours of playing shinny hockey and doing all the skill stuff that he did growing up. And again, we can't, coaches, you have nothing to do with the skill other than let him use it.
You know what else is interesting, and it doesn't get talked about a lot, but because of his speed and his skill, what he does is he tends to create power play opportunities because opponents have no other option but to try to hook, grab, tug, or something to try to slow him down. And that's just an extra aspect that doesn't really show up on a stat sheet, but it definitely helps the franchise.
Yeah, he's one of our leaders, and we call it DP and drew penalties, where he draws a lot of penalties with his speed and skill that you're right, there's a lot of hooking, tripping, slashing that goes on to try to slow him down.
He takes kind of a beating, and I guess that, when like we've talked about it earlier in the year, when you wear a 23 on your back or you wear a 9 for Wenatchee, you're going to attract a lot of attention. It's kind of hard to avoid it. Yeah,
and he's done a really good job at learning how to deal with it, that he knows that he's going to get the extra shot almost every shift, that if it's going to bother you, then it's going to affect your play, and he's done a good job of playing through all the horseplay.
Another player that really seems to be taking it on the chin kind of literally is Matt Baker. It seems like night after night he's either getting clipped with a high stick or something's happening, and I guess that's probably, again, it's a tribute to him not being afraid of going to the hard areas.
Absolutely. That when he's getting his face marked up there, it means he's around the puck, that he's in the pile, he's in the action, and he's, in my opinion, he's turned into a top 5 player in the league. I think he's that good.
So Friday night you jumped out to a 3-1 lead. It got away. You had the heartbreaking loss in overtime. We talked about the importance of trying to put away a lead. The next night you come out and get an early 2-goal lead. Chilliwack finds their way back in, but it was like 2 prize fighters in a heavyweight bout just going toe-to-toe. It's like, see who's going to be the last guy standing.
Well, or the last guy shooting. That's really what it came down to. That. And it's Saturday wasn't a good hockey game for either team. That you're right, it was a slugfest that people were throwing punches that way. But that was the game that I expected how that one to be played on Wednesday. That it just, in my opinion, was not a real good hockey game to watch. As a fan, maybe with all the goals it was good, but I don't know if the fatigue really set in for both teams. It was awful sloppy from where I was standing.
A lot of goals, a couple of scraps, all of that going on. You got into the overtime, and you could sense that the sense of urgency from the Wild, knowing that the night before they let one get away in overtime, and you could see from the moment the puck dropped in overtime on Saturday that they were on a mission, and they come out and had outshot Chilliwack 6-0 until a bounce going the other way.
Yeah, that's frustrating. It's frustrating, but Arch, again, we've had a lot of times this year where the puck's bounced our way, and again we had a couple of great opportunities in overtime that we didn't score on, and the puck goes back to our end, and we had chances right before that to finish the hockey game, and we didn't. Whether it's a sense of urgency or just a little bad luck, or luck evening itself out. I know it's tough to take. It's tough to take because all three of those games, we could have won all three of them easily. I mean, we played well enough to win all three, but we also played well enough, just not enough to lose all three. And so I think that's a mark of playing another good hockey team.
And it's the last time you'll see Chilliwack until potentially in the postseason. So now the calendar flips. We're into 2017. Heading off on the bus on Thursday. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back to take a look at the week ahead for the Wenatchee Wild as Call of the Wild continues. Back in just a couple of moments on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network. And welcome back once again to Call of the Wild. It's your weekly Wenatchee Wild Coaches Show. I'm Arch Ecker alongside Bliss Littler. This week, the Wild take off to Surrey to face the Eagles on Thursday night, and then Friday, an off night, a rarity in the regular season, and then Saturday, the Victoria Grizzlies will come to town for Guns N' Hoses night, which is one of the most anticipated nights of the year for the Wenatchee Wild. Start off with the Surrey match, heading back to that big old ice sheet, and we've talked about that a few times this year. And we know that Surrey has been a team that really has come on in the middle part of the season after kind of a rough start. They had not much success here in this building against us in the beginning of December. Certainly that's going to be kind of sticking in their craw a little bit. So we know we're going to get their A game on Thursday night.
Well, no doubt. Rick Lance he's come on board with that team, and again, he's done a wonderful job as far as turning the systems around and how hard they play. So he's a veteran coach that's been very successful. That he's done a great job there. We've had our problems up there this year, no doubt. Again, both teams play on it. It's Olympic ice. Their power play has been very good in that building against us. So we're going to have to do a good job of staying out of the penalty box. That's the best penalty kill is not to have to kill. So we'll do our best to stay out of the box. But we've given up, I believe, the least amount of goals when we're shorthanded in the league. I think we have the second best percent, but we've given up the least amount of goals, I believe. And so we definitely have to do a good job at staying out of the box. And when we do go to the box, we have to rely on our penalty kill to kill that. And same thing with the power play. We have statistically the second best percentage, but we definitely have the best power plays. I think we scored 10 more goals than the next closest team. So we need to get up there and we need to make our power play have success. That if we can have success on special teams there, I think we'll be in good shape.
Is there anything that you intend to do differently to prepare your team for this trip to Surrey that maybe you didn't think about or didn't do last time? I guess that's my way of asking if there's anything you learned about the last couple of times up there that you might be able to apply to this trip.
Well, I just think we need to do a better job at making them earn their goals. That we didn't give up many shots when we were there, but we didn't make them work real hard to score. So we have to do a better job of that.
So you get the one game in Surrey on Thursday, bus back home Friday, a rare off night, which is, you don't see that a lot at our level of hockey, but it is what it is. The following night, Victoria comes into town, and that's a game I'm really looking forward to, not just because of all the fun stuff that goes along with the Guns N' Hoses night, but the game against Victoria up on the island a couple of weeks ago was really a fun game to watch.
That was maybe the quickest game we played in all year. That both teams got up and down the ice, that the goalies both played well, that I thought it was just a very well played hockey game. So again, I'm looking forward to it. That I know that they're only a few points behind in the race for their overall top spot, and they're still in that. So this is a big game for both teams.
Victoria, obviously, they're very similar to us in terms of, their speed and some of their top end skill. And so when we played against them, it seemed like it was a relatively clean game. There was a couple of things that kind of maybe went on, but that always makes it just makes it more fun to be a part of.
Well, yeah. Again, they're a good hockey club, no doubt about that. That they're a veteran group from where they were at a year ago, and they get great goaltending. Their special team's been good, so and they really get up and down the ice. So they're a 4-line team also. As you can see, most of the top teams in the league, they're 4-line teams. That 4-line teams with good special teams and good goaltending. So again, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Guns and Hoses Night, of course, in support of police and fire. Ticket sales, $10 for any ticket for the game. And when you log on to buy your tickets online, you can select a police code or fire code because they're competing against one another to see which group can bring more fans to the game. In the past years that you've seen this event, talk about some of the things that stand out in your mind that make Guns and Hoses a special night.
Well, I just think that I always like the pregame part of it too, where you see a little of the pageantry with the firemen and the police officers, and you know what, they do a great job. Lots of people show up for it. Lots of firehouses, lots of police stations. That it's just a good event.
Well, it'll be the first game of a 6-game homestand, the longest homestand of the year for the Wild. It'll continue through January 21st, so plenty of opportunities for you to see the Wild at the Town Toyota Center. And that'll wrap it up for us this week. So, Bliss, thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, Arch.
Wenatchee Wild Coaches Show every week. Catch it right here. I'm Arch Ecker. This is Bliss Littler on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.
You've been listening to Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild, a presentation of the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.